pleasantries pregame, and no handshake for the coin toss from Maryland before the game today. It is on.
Welcome to the Straight from the Crest podcast.
Welcome back to the Straight from the Crest podcast. I'm your host, Michael David Kresovich. Very special edition today of the Straight from the Crest as we continue our coverage of Penn State football. We're going to discuss Penn State's win over Indiana this past weekend, preview Penn State's home game against Maryland as they continue into Big Ten play. Special guest to the show today, filling in for the great Garrett Bastardi, is a great friend of mine, Justin Beck, Penn State guy, college football fanatic. Justin, welcome to the show. You've been on a couple times, reoccurring guest. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. Unfortunately, I'm here to join you guys because Garrett went on to live happily ever after. But I'm excited to fill in. You know, we got a pretty big game coming up, so glad I get to step in for this one.
It's the next man up mentality. We've had a bunch of different personalities here on the show, and the list gets longer. But reoccurring guest Justin is here. As always, guys, we're brought to you by, as you see the sponsor in the background, Protocol Beverage. Protocol Beverage is pioneering spike protein beverages born from just a few dudes in Erie, Pennsylvania who wondered, why doesn't spike protein exist? They've changed that. Invention isn't for the faint of heart. Pineapple Pump, Swoleberry, and Orange County are the first flavors available. Their beverages are packed in 16-ounce cans, 8% ABV, 11 grams of protein per serving. These drinks are uncarbonated, easy to consume. They're great. High-octane people. You guys got to go out, try them. They're everywhere. They just expanded today to Indiana and Ohio. They're in Pittsburgh, State College, Erie, of course, where they started. Justin can obviously speak on them, too. Must be 21 and older to enjoy. But first, before we dive into the preview of the Maryland Terrapins versus the Nittany Lions, Fox Sports 3:30 kick upcoming Saturday here at Beaver Stadium. Let's briefly touch on Penn State's win over Indiana this past Saturday as the Nittany Lions stormed into Bloomington, 45-14 win. Just a complete win where on last week's show we discussed the difference in talent was really going to show there. This was a game where we didn't know who was going to play quarterback, and Indiana actually threw a curveball at the Nittany Lions by going with a different starter in Jack Tuttle. But the Nittany Lions managed. They pulled away. They looked like a good team capable of winning some games. Justin, when you were nestled into your man cave watching the game Saturday, what jumped out to you from Penn State's win?
Yeah, so I mean, what jumps out, obviously, good teams win, great teams cover. I don't think we're a great team, but it was nice to see us take care of business and handle a team that we're very capable of handling. Obviously, tons of promise in the young guys. I think it was all of our touchdowns were accounted for by freshmen, whether it was Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, or Drew Alar when he came in the second half. Maybe we've got a little baby version of Wendell White, Reggie Bush cooking with Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. I mean, Katron Allen runs the ball. Nobody wants to tackle him. People bounce off of him. And then when Nick Singleton touches the ball, he's a home run threat every time he touches it. So, it's really exciting. Freshmen look great. You don't want to look forward to next season because we got to wrap up this season, finish strong, but tons of promise.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seemed to me Penn State was just able to make more plays. And as you mentioned, the Singleton, Katron Allen combo is just lethal. But a lot of guys, Harrison Wallace caught a touchdown pass. Liam Clifford got a lot of time. It just seemed like a game where Penn State took care of business, which we've known historically. These are games where they slip up in, maybe haven't played to their potential after a disappointing loss. But yeah, I agree. And let's switch over to the defense here because we knew coming into this year that Manny Diaz, his whole scheme, and we talked about this, of course, when he got hired, is he's going to blitz the hell out of teams. He's going to create turnovers. And it felt like discrepancy in talent this week and really let his scheme come through and show. And you saw late in the game, they were aggressive till the end. What do you think watching Manny Diaz D event? What really comes to mind? What do you like most about it? How's that going to help for future Penn State teams?
Yeah, I mean, when I watch his defense, I think it's a ton of boom or bust. If you get home, you look great. If you don't get home, you look awful. I mean, I've seen us throughout the whole season, I've seen us give up way too many third and longs. With that said, I like watching the defense play. They run fast. They swarm to the ball. We trust our corners and man coverage. That's why we have the most pass deflections in all of football. Penn State does. Watching the defense is fun. It definitely keeps you on your toes. But I prefer this style of defense to what we had with Brent Pry. I love Brent Pry, but this defense is fun to watch.
No doubt about it. And Penn State gets the win. Just a handful of games left. 3 actually. Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan State to wrap up Big Ten play. Hopefully get the NY6 Bowl with a 10-2 anticipated finish. But this weekend, of course, the 6-3 Maryland Terrapins come to town. And they're kind of I'd say in the Big Ten, there's 3 dominant teams. There's Maryland, then there's a rest. Maryland's kind of in the middle there, where they're better than Indiana, but the Penn State, there's still a huge gap between them in terms of talent and really the production on the field. They're 6-3 with losses to Wisconsin, Purdue, and Michigan. A 13-point loss to Wisconsin last week, 2-point loss to Purdue, and then just a 7-point loss in Ann Arbor to the Michigan Wolverines. So. To me, Justin, this team is first and foremost just a quick flyover here. One of the best receiving cores in the Big Ten Conference. Rakeem Jarrett's the first guy that comes to mind. He absolutely torched the Nittany Lions when Maryland ended the 5-game losing streak against Penn State back in 2020 when they came to Beaver Stadium during the COVID year and won. It's a group led by head coach Mike Loxley, the former Alabama offensive coordinator, former interim coach for the Terrapins, and now he kind of runs the ship. One of the better coaches in the conference outside of the big 3, like I said. But just going back to the dreaded 2020 game, all 5 of Maryland's touchdowns, just a quick note, were 5. All 5 of them were 30 yards and above. So it's a roster capable, and they bring back a lot of guys. They bring up 9 on their offense, 7 on the defense. It's a team capable of putting up points. And before we really dive into this personnel, of course, Taulia Tagovailoa, first and foremost, is the quarterback. 14 touchdowns intercepted in 6 of 9 games this year played. Sacked 5 times last week. When you see this Maryland team, what should Penn State look out for, and what really do you see the Terrapins doing offensively against the Nittany Lion defense?
Well, I think it's a favorable matchup for us. When you look at the way our offense is run and their offense is run, we're both pass-first offenses. I mean, even with our, running back production that we've had, we still throw the ball more, just like they do. They rely on their quarterback. I don't know if we rely on Sean Clifford as much as they rely on Taulia, but the offense definitely still runs through the passing game for both teams, and we have the corners to match up with them. Obviously, you mentioned Rakeem Jarrett. He's in my notes. He's a former 5-star wide receiver. He's torched us. I don't put a whole bunch of stock in the 2020 game. It's COVID year. That whole year just felt weird. We lose to Indiana on what I'll call a bogus 2-point conversion, and then we lose to Ohio State the following weekend, and the rest of the game just don't matter to us, right? It's not the standard that we have here. It deflates your season before it's even begun. Don't put a whole bunch of stock into that. Last year we played them on their field. We handled them just like we handled Indiana last week. I'm not saying that they're equivalent to Indiana, but I think we are capable of handling them. When I look at their previous performances, obviously last week they were stifled by Wisconsin, but they played Michigan a heck of a lot tougher than we did. And they even spotted Michigan a touchdown on the first play of the game by muffing that kickoff. So, I think we got to rely on our corners, play the same style of defense we have been, get into Taulia's backfield, let the corners play man defense, cover theirs, trust our guys versus their guys. I think we're set up for a pretty good matchup, pretty good game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think outside of the receiving core, we're going to talk obviously a lot about Rakeem Jarrett and what he's able to do, but they also added Jacob Copeland, the transfer from Florida, former 4-star recruit. So they're a more talented bunch than Indiana, than the team Penn State saw last week. But at their defense, Justin, at all 3 levels, they're not very strong. They struggle on defense. In terms of your own confidence, because we talk about this a lot with Sean Clifford, this is going to be a better defense moving forward. The quarterback situation here, do you want to see what they did last week, or would you like to see more of Drew Allar? Would you, or kind of the recipe last week? Get the lead, get the comfortable lead, let the young guys go in.
Yeah, I think that's probably more what I'm looking at. I know I'm not a big Sean Clifford fan, but I also think I understand what Franklin says when he says, I want to go with the guy that gives us the best chance at being 1-0. Does a disservice to your seniors to bench Sean just to get Drew some playing time. You don't want to drop a game here that's very winnable to try and get Drew playing time. I agree with the format that they've been going with, get the lead, get the comfortable lead, then let the freshmen come in, play with no pressure, and then good things happen, right? You saw last week, Drew shined. He came in a no-pressure environment. He got valuable game snaps, and, the game wasn't on him. So I do think you go with the quarterback that gives you the best chance of winning, which is Sean Clifford. And hopefully you can get us out to a lead and we can get some more playing time for Drew.
Yeah, I think so. I liked how they managed the quarterback position well in terms of playing time last game. I think that's the recipe moving forward. No drastic decisions, but you said the Maryland offense is quite comparable to Penn State. A lot of screens, a lot of quick hits. That's what they're going to do. But I think this is a great opportunity for Penn State's defense to really exploit an offense. Watching Tungavailoa throw, he loves to force the ball into tight windows, which he gets away with it. We talk about turnover luck a lot. He's always on the positive end of that. But I think this weekend, just coming off a 5-sack game last week against the Badgers, I think this is a great opportunity for the Penn State defense to really have another rock solid performance and have a complementary performance in their offense this week. Is there any concern for the Penn State defense heading into this matchup against the Terrapins, or who do you want to see kind of continue to play well or step up in terms of personnel on the Penn State side?
Yeah, so the one guy I'd love to see step up is Chop Robinson. You know, he's the Maryland transfer. I was looking at our team stats just earlier, and I think it's Johnny Dixon is our leading sacker. So hopefully Chop can, you know, be productive this game. It's a little bit of a revenge game for him. Not that Maryland did anything to him, but you want to show out against the team that you just left. So looking for him to get in the backfield. You know that the pass blocking isn't great for Maryland. On the back end, you know, you love to watch Joey Porter play. Hopefully we're seeing less pass deflections and more pass interceptions. Like you said, Tungavailoa has been picked off in 6 of his 9 games this year. So hopefully we can make that 7 to 10. Yeah, as far as the run game goes, they've got a running back, Roman Hemby. He's won Big Ten Freshman of the Week twice this year. I guess they don't have a running back by committee like we do. He's their bell cow. I think he's got somewhere in the 700s in yards. And I was checking out the next guy. I don't know his name, but he's only in the 200s. He doesn't touch the ball much. So, you know, they definitely have a bell cow style offense. So, you know, stifling him, you know, Maryland's going to pass the ball first anyways, just playing tight coverage, getting into his head, Taualia's head. And, yeah, I think we'll be set up for success.
Yeah, Hemby has 747 yards, 7 touchdowns, but there's a big drop off in the number 2 guy there. Just a quick note here for draft purposes, for people who followed the draft, guys who are going to play at the next level. They have one of the better tackles in the entire country. He'll probably be the first tackle off the board in Jalen Duncan, just a 6'6", 300-pound, just monster of a guy. So for the guys that like the hog mollies and the trench guys up front, he's someone to keep an eye on. But let's transition into the prediction part of the show. As always, we're gonna talk about the line, and we usually give out who we think is gonna score the first touchdown. We'll play a little over under, but right now it's a 10.5 Penn State. As they're a 10.5 point favorite, a total of 59, which I think is a little high. But Justin, how do you see this game forecasting? And if you had to take a side right now on the spread, which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I'll take Penn State minus the points. You know, they beat us last time they came into Beaver Stadium. I don't think we're going to let that happen twice. And I don't think that we're going to – I mean, I don't think Maryland's a bad team, but I think we're better, and I think we're capable of beating them handily. Okay.
I'm with you. I think Penn State, I think they're better than Indiana, but I think there's still a big gap. You're going to see a better – it's not going to be as easy as the Indiana game was last week, but it's going to be a convincing Penn State win. I like them by like 14 to 20, maybe even. I think it'll be the same as last week, but just at home, more energy. Because Bloomington was that stadium was flat. The energy last week, and they were still able to do that. I like Penn State 38-17 around there. I think that's fair to say. Who do you have scoring the first touchdown for Penn State?
I'm going Brenton Strange.
Damn it.
I get the tight ends involved.
That was my pick too.
I can switch it to Theo Johnson.
You have to switch it. I'm staying Brenton.
You're going to stay Brenton Strange?
Yeah, you go Theo Johnson.
All right, I'll go to Theo Johnson. That's fine.
I think it's going to be a 20-yard plus screen to Brenton Strange to open up the score.
Screen?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not how I had it. I saw a seam route.
Okay. Well, there's only one way to find out. So obviously we're both on the Nittany Lions here as the season dwindles down. But yeah, it's going to be nice for the Penn State to return home, obviously, after the the disappointing season. I don't want to say season-ending loss to Ohio State, but season-ending loss to Ohio State, dream crusher. But Justin, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm sure we'll have you back on here to talk some Penn State football and NFL playoffs soon, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. Go Nets, go Steelers. Until next time.
Yep.
We had quarterback Sean Clifford. Clifford was also the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week.